Alright. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think my volume's a little off. Hang on. Okay, this should be better. Welcome back. Yeah. Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Let's keep going. Alright, so I believe we were going to present the doggo with a thing. Was it this one? Oh wait, this is to let us go back up, I guess, if we want it. Oh, okay, we can't go up there. Okay, got it. Okay, it's been a couple days of Splatfest. What was the evidence with the scent on it? Was it the screwdriver? It was not the screwdriver. It's gonna take me some time to remember, I think. Okie dokie, was it the crossbow? We had a piece of evidence with a scent on it, right? Is it a photo? Oh, wait. It's the card. It's the card with the machine oil on it. Right, okay. There we go, chat. We're back in business. It took me a minute, but we're back in business. About this, Gina. Yeah, still learning my letters at the moment. I only know A to E, so if it ain't too much bleeding trouble... Ah, actually, Gina, it's the back of the card that's important. Eh? How come? It's just a dirty old smudge on the back, that's all. It turns out that this is very high-quality French machine oil. It has a very particular scent, apparently. You don't say. Has ever whiffed then? You sure? I don't smell nothing. No, we didn't mean that you should smell it. Oh, right. I mean Toby. His sense of smell is so good he can track people over the oceans, can he? Professor Harebrain informs us that this oil is unique to Mr. Drebber's workshop. Why is he... She's equipping Toby like it's a gun. I think he's picked up a scent. So you mean, if he follows the scent of this oil, Toby could lead us to the Dodgy Cove's workshop? That's right. That's exactly what we were hoping. Renoa's dog. Shoutouts to FF8. Alright then, we'll give it a go. I'll just borrow that. What? Oh, wait, when did you... Want to pickpocket. If I can lead everyone to that Drebber's workshop, I'll be the boss's boss before next week. Oh yes, Gina. I'm sure you'll be promoted. Poor Gregson. Right then, Otto. Leave it to me. Sorry. We're gonna get going after that dodgy Engineer Cove right this minute. Oh, but hang on. Someone's supposed to be on guard duty here all the time. I'm afraid we can't help. We need to get on with our investigation as well, Gina. Oh, right. Oh well, never mind. It ain't gonna be me what gets in the neck. It'll be the boss. Poor Gregson, again. Ready, Toby? Get that oil sent, have ya? Come on then, boy. See you later. I do hope the scent of that oil leads them to that swindler's workshop. Yes, I hope so too. Ideally before the dog swims across the Channel to France. Channel? Chanel? Channel? Whatever. Alright, Spooky, scary skeletons send shivers down your spine. Spooky, scary skeletons. I believe this is it. Dr. Sife's laboratory. That chemical smell really assaults the nose. And there's plenty to assault the eyes in here, too. It looks as though the doctor isn't here. But we're here now, so we may as well do some sightseeing, don't you think? Oh, what a seasoned tourist you've become, Mrs. Sato. We could just have a little look around, being careful not to upset any restless souls. Spooky, scary skeletons. Well, look at this. What a magnificent display case. The cherry wood has been polished to a high sheen, and the intricate carving is a joy to behold. Western cabinet makers really are very skilled, aren't they? Do you have nothing to say about the skeleton inside, Mr. Naruhodo? Miss Sato, can't you tell that I'm trying very hard to avoid talking about the terrifying contents of the case? It's how I cope. I'll be sure to remember that from now on. Owl. That looks like an owl and a crow up there. I know, and they haven't even twitched since we came in here. Well, no, they wouldn't have. They're taxidermy mounts, Mrs. Naruhodo. Ugh. I was afraid you were going to say that. I've been trying very hard to tell myself they're just sleeping with their eyes open. Yes, I think perhaps you were wise to put something like your Darumado on display in the office instead. No, it won't be Megalovania. This is too tall. Bone Trowso will start playing. Look at all the bottles on the shelves in these cabinets. What an assortment of chemicals. These ones here are labeled highly toxic. Ugh, that's worrying, because there are also things that look like salt and pepper shakers in there. Oh yes, and they actually say salt and pepper on them. The doctor probably spends a lot of time in this room, I suppose. Perhaps she has meals here sometimes. Life goes on, even when you're surrounded by death. Yeah, this is more of an autopsy lab than a forensics lab, right? At least it feels like it. A table and a set of sharp tools. When you consider each in isolation, it all looks quite innocent. So why is it that when you put them side by side, they seem so horribly disturbing? It might be best not to ponder it too deeply. Seeing the large tome that's open on the desk does makes me wonder, though. How can anybody concentrate on bookwork with this acrid odor of chemicals in the air? You'd either have to have a cast iron constitution, or a really terrible sense of smell. Is that a spine? Those large jars seem to have pale things floating around inside them. I suppose they're fruit liquors or something? Or like the pickled umeboshi plums we make back home. Father had jars like that in his laboratory as well. I expect they're human organs in a preserving solution, probably as examples of some rare medical condition. Miss Sato, there are some things in the world that it's perfectly fine never to know about. Ever. Oh. So as I said, I'm sure they're fruit liquors or umeboshi. Aren't they? Oh, of course. Ah, yes. Very lovely pickled plums we have there. You can't even see the nerve endings poking out from underneath there. Yes, indeed. I suppose this is Dr. Sife's desk. I would not like to work in a place like this. It's very tidy though, isn't it, Mrs. Naruhodo? Imagine how efficiently she must work. The lighting is poor, which is bad for the eyes, and the chemical smell can't be good for you. Not to mention the skeleton watching over you as you work, which is definitely bad for the nerves. Well, yes, those are valid concerns, I suppose. I can just about cope with a one-eyed Daruma doll watching over me, but that's all. Alright, the books aren't... I guess we only have this left. Look at this big thick book here. It appears to be an accounting ledger. It's a record of the forensic investigation team's spending, I think. Oh? What is it? It's clear that the team purchases various equipment and supplies on a monthly basis, but... Well, one entry seems rather strange. Really? In what way? You're buying 500 scalpels every month. 500? They must be working really hard on dissecting corpses. I don't know. Traditional autopsies are only carried out in certain special circumstances. And scalpel blades can be sharpened too. It does seem a bit strange, you're right. 500 scalpels a month. What could they possibly be using all of them for? Or maybe they're not buying scalpels, maybe they're laundering money. Perhaps there is some misappropriation of funds afoot. I'm guessing this is our doctor friend? What are you doing? Ah, yes. Sorry, we had something we wanted to ask you, but you weren't here, so... So you thought you'd snoop around? That's acceptable to you people from the East, is it? Well, what do you want? Lord Strongheart told us, you see, that it was you who examined the victim's body. Mr. Asman's body, I mean. So we came to ask you about your findings, on Lord Strongheart's advice. Very well. If the Lord Chief Justice has given his consent, I'll tell you what our investigation revealed. But when we're done, you must leave immediately. Okay. Fair enough. So, you want to know what the forensic investigation team determined from its examination of the scene? The victim, Mr. Odie Asman, who disappeared from the experimentation stage amid an explosion, and the Mr. Asman who appeared moments later partway up the Crystal Tower. But without question, one and the same person. That is the team's conclusion. But that can't be right. If it was an elaborate trick, we can only speculate about how it was carried out. Let's see. If two people who look very similar to each other were involved, they could have made it appear as if one single person had switched places, couldn't they? Very true. But sadly in this instance, that was not the case. The man who disappeared and the man who subsequently reappeared was the same person. The fingerprints at the scene make that quite evident. Ah, fingerprints. They're not yet officially recognized as forensic evidence in the British justice system. But one day, they will be used as an investigative aid as a matter of course. True that. Oh my, but that would mean that the instantaneous kinesis actually took place. So, where does that leave us? My team was tasked with investigating, not drawing conclusions. Instantaneous kinesis is impossible, and yet the body did move from one place to the other. This hasn't cleared anything up at all. It's made the whole thing even more of a mystery. Dare? Okay.
Hello, what is this?
Ah! Where did she spring from? And did she just call the doctor Mama? This is a lawyer, dear.
Oh,
Hello. To meet you. Pleased to meet you. Yes, I'm a defense lawyer. Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Hello.
Yes?
Can I cut this one up?
What?
I've never seen inside an instant person before. I want to know what it looks like.
Of course you can't. It's a live specimen, as you can very well see.
Huh. Boring.
I think I just had a near-death experience. Oh dear, Mr. Naruhodo, you're as pale as a corpse. Then let's leave before I'm mistaken for one. Well, I think we've done all the investigating we can here for now. If we could just determine the whereabouts of Mr. Drebber, I'm sure Gina and little Toby won't let us down. Now then, do you think we ought to try to speak with Mr. Sholmes at this point? We have things to discuss, and I'm dying to meet him again after all these months. Yes, it's quite possible he might know something useful, you're right. We ought to find him at Madame Tuspel's. He's supposed to be working there as a temporary waxwork exhibit. Yes, Iris told me all about his latest unusual venture. Oh, is Lady just gonna be here? So, what are you doing at the moment, Doctor? Keeping a close eye on things so no impertinent Easterners think they can look around my office. Are there such impertinent Easterners around? Oh, terrible. Yes, you. I didn't get the idea that I was supposed to just spell it out for you. She doesn't mince her words, Miss Susato. I think perhaps it's time we left. Alright. Don't get to talk to the doctor. Oh my! No wonder it's called the House of Horrors. I'd like to turn on my heels and go straight home, via the confectionery. Being scared makes you crave sweets. I can understand that. But you know, there's something about that waxwork over there. It looks exactly like Mr. Sholmes down to the very last detail. Aha! What is it? Oh, sorry. I think you'll find that's the temporary waxwork himself. Ah, the friend of my dedicated employee. Oh yes, hello again. It's Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I must say, I am quite spellbound by the great detective. He is a marvel. My precious waxwork is already back where it belongs. You don't mean... But yes, the mystery is solved already. Wow, Mr. Sholmes can really engage his brain when he's hungry enough. So as you can see, he has returned to his habitual duties. Yes. His habitual duties. Hello. Do not disturb, huh? Poor Susato-san, she looks very perplexed. Please do not touch the statues, it says. Well, we can re-look at everything again now, so... Oh, what a horrifying scene! A murderer caught in a grisly act! I know. And in case you were wondering, it's the one with the big knife that's supposed to be the killer. I don't think anybody would be in any doubt about that, surely. And did you know that according to the description, the bathtub at the back has no particular significance? What? Really? I would have thought it was meant to show that the killer also worked in a bathhouse peddling criminal wares. Aha, we have a new theory. Not Elizabeth Bathory. This one's posture reveals his weakness. Sorry? The killer's stance leaves him wide open to attack. I'm quite sure I could see him off. With a Susato takedown, then a Susato squash, and finally a Susato smash. Right. And if that doesn't render the culprit unconscious, a Susato Slam should finish him. A Susato Slam? Oh, I'm sorry, it's rather hard to explain. Leave yourself open slightly and I'll demonstrate. Absolutely not. I'm gonna ignore him for now. That old policeman isn't here now, obviously. I still can't believe he just happened to be on the jury, though. I'd understood that London has a population of 6 million people, and yet... You do seem to run into the same people disproportionately often, don't you? Yeah, unfortunately, Capcom has limited budget. Ah yes, the heavy curtains in the middle of the House of Horrors. Whatever's on the other side of them, you just know it's going to be terrifying, don't you? The sign says it's the Madame Tussauds special exhibit. It seems you have to pay extra to go inside. I know, can you believe that? Pay more money as if we haven't been scared enough already. It's not my doing, Mr. Naruhodo. Okay, I guess we don't get to peek inside and see what the professor looks like until we talk to... We really do need to speak to Mr. Sholmes, and I am longing to say hello again. But where is he? I think you might find that he's quite nearby, actually. Oh, what do you... Indeed, my dear fellows, it is I, the world-famous great detective and waxwork, Sherlock Sholmes. Susato-san! Susato-san! Dun 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 dun. My most humble apologies. I thought I'd died and gone to eternal paradise for a moment, via London. My dear madame, allow me to make amends by offering you a tasty free deduction at some point. As long as it's not of questionable street food quality. I don't understand. Why are you working as a waxwork here, Mr. Sholmes? Merely a secret identity, you understand, though the case is largely solved now. Largely solved? We're talking about the waxwork abduction, I presume? Indeed we are, my good fellow. As I predicted, it was as easy as proverbial pie. Though I confess, I'm yet to partake of a pie, proverbial or otherwise, or any food so far today for that matter. That stomach rumble echoed around the whole museum. So how did you manage to solve it so quickly? Ah, well, do remember I said it was largely solved. Anyway, I simply negotiated with the culprit. Are you familiar with the so-called telephone? Oh yes, it's a most modern invention, allowing you to hold a conversation with people far away. In Japan, only the imperial capital and a handful of other cities are connected as yet. This morning, a telephone call was received here from the perpetrator of the abduction. As such, I was able to negotiate terms, and in the end, the waxwork was returned. That's amazing. Just between you and I, it would appear the culprit had always intended to return the stolen waxwork in any event. Oh, but I thought whoever was responsible had demanded a ransom, no? Yes, I think perhaps the ransom demand was necessary to avoid unwanted suspicion regarding the true motive. But does that not mean your negotiating was entirely unnecessary? A fact that I must ask you to keep from Madame Tussauds at all costs. A hungry young Iris awaits my return to Baker Street after all. Poor Iris. Now then, do I sense that you have some business with this great waxwork? Take a look at this. He doesn't have anything to say about that dude. Oh, the Aspen. Yes, a fearsome adversary. What? You mean you fought him? I once infiltrated his criminal organization in order to investigate the man and his activities. But he saw through my disguise instantly. I still remember what the man said to me now. What was it? Whoever saw such a tall old lady? Old lady? Indeed! But my special disguise hasn't seen the light of day again since that humiliation. Mrs. Minico is retired. Mrs. Minico? I will give my right arm to see that. Okay, well, we got a nice little tidbit out of him. We're in the process of trying to track somebody down. Oh. Yes, a man by the name of Enoch Drebber. He's the swindler who duped Professor Hairbrain, and the engineer who built the kinesis machine. A swindler and an engineer. Quite the modern man. He also seems to be a conjurer of sorts too, with considerable knowledge of stage magic. We really need to locate him before the trial resumes tomorrow morning. But we have so few clues to go on, that's the trouble. Do you have any good ideas? I have no data yet. It is a capital mistake to have good ideas before one has data. Hey, that's something he said in the stories too. If I knew something of the man's appearance at least, I may be in a better position to help. Yes, Drebber's appearance. Fortunately for you, however, presently I have little to occupy myself and little to fill my stomach. As soon as you find any clue, no matter how small, I shall gladly give you my thoughts on it. But I showed him already. He just didn't care to answer about it. Okay. Mr. Sholmes, did you lie to us? My dear Mr. Naruhodo, stay that piercing stare. What is this about? Last winter, when we were first on our way to Britain aboard the steamship, your words were very clear. So then, let us unravel this mystery and discover what events led to this curious murder. You told us that it was murder, and you examined Kazuma-sama's body. Indeed, and wherein lies the problem? We met him earlier today, the victim, Kazuma Asogi. You're quite sure? He was wearing some sort of mask and was apparently suffering from amnesia. But yes, I'm quite sure. It was Kazuma-sama. You must have known at the time, Mr. Sholmes, that he wasn't actually dead. Well, I can only assume I was swept up in the murderous atmosphere of the moment. But the fellow wasn't dead at all. Priceless. I don't suppose the performance would pass muster, would it, Mr. Naruhodo? I could believe that the crewman present at the time made a mistake. But not you, Mr. Sholmes. I will now tell you something of the first importance, my dear fellow. Great detectives are wont to lie. It will serve you well to remember that. Please, Mr. Sholmes. Tomorrow in court, you will find yourself on the threshold of a very great mystery. For now, I'm afraid that is all I can say. It's being very coy about things. Anyway, here, take a look at this. Mr. Sholmes, would you cast your eyes over this photographic print? It's of Mr. Enoch Drebber, the face of the engineer we see. Well, all Englishmen look broadly the same, of course, so looking at the photograph won't be particularly instructive. Are you alright, Mr. Sholmes? Ah, yes, forgive me. Very interesting, this. Very interesting indeed. What's wrong, Mr. Sholmes? You've turned quite pale all of a sudden. I have a suggestion, Mr. Naruhodo. Will you indulge me? Oh, well, what is it? As I explained to you when you arrived, the missing waxwork has been returned, and I personally reinstalled it in the exhibit from which it was taken, behind those thick curtains. Oh, yes. The Professor exhibit, isn't it? Would you like to see it? For a mere 5 shillings. It's a special, one-time only price, you understand. What? The opportunity won't come again, I might add. Wouldn't you like to see the fruits of my labor? Oh, well, we do have a rather pressing investigation to carry out. Perhaps we could postpone. The price is a very reasonable 5 shillings. I think you'll find it's well worth it. Are you being quite serious, Mr. Sholmes? Surely you'll need only look at my expression to assert whether this is seriousness or silliness. I can never tell with you, that's the point. Very well, it couldn't hurt. Here's your 5 shillings. Gratefully received. So, the special exhibit awaits behind the curtain. I invite you to peruse it at your leisure. What's behind the curtain? Well, the money's been spent, so let's go see the special exhibit. Through those heavy curtains at last. Who's it gonna be? 5 shillings I've had to pay. It doesn't seem right somehow that Mr. Sholmes slipped the money into his own pocket, does it? No. Ah, we could ask Gina to retrieve it for us, using her special skills. Pickpocketing police officers and diddling detectives. This is what makes Britain great. Not to mention, demigod prosecutors taking the law into their own hands, or chip-living inspectors. Inspector Gregson comes off rather well in that list, I think. Okay, they've been building this up a bunch. They've been really building this up. What are we about to see? Oh dear. I felt a shiver run down my spine as soon as we walked in here. Mr. Sato! I say we turn on our heels and go straight home, via a really big confectionery. We certainly can't do that. We've paid 5 shillings already. True. Actually, now that I'm looking a little more closely, we've paid good money to see an exhibit that's clearly incomplete. The nerve of the great diddling detective is far more terrifying than anything else in this place. This must be what Mr. Sholmes meant when he said the case was largely solved. Be that as it may, Mr. Sholmes heavily implied there'd be a clue about the engineer in here, didn't he? But where? Since I paid 5 shillings, let's do 5 shillings worth of investigation, shall we? Yes, we will get what we paid for. It's that fear or frustration that's making Susato-san's voice tremble. Clearly we are dealing with the headless horseman. Damn, a murderer with no head? Somebody who's been decapitated? Wow. This must be the killer, the fiend known as the Professor. Yes, I think so. According to what Madame Tispel said, he killed 5 victims, all of noble or royal blood. The waxwork is so lifelike, isn't it? Like all the models in this place. I know. It looks like it could start moving at any moment, doesn't it? If only it had a head, that is. Perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail. Can't rotate. It's a static model. The fact that they're hiding the head, you know, implies that it's probably something that would be a big dramatic reveal. So I'm willing to bet that the head of that model is Mr. Sholmes himself! Har har har. Maybe it's this guy's head? Yeah, I got no clue. So this is the condemned man. Yes, the so-called professor. Then perhaps his head was chopped off by a guillotine. But unable to find peace, he emerged from his grave as a hitless ghost. Do we have to entertain such terrifying ideas, Mr. Sato? Anyway, I'm sure the model had a head once. There's a metal fitting for it, see? Then, perhaps Mr. Sholmes absentmindedly forgot to reattach it. It's an extremely absent-minded detective you're describing, isn't it? Or perhaps the thief absent-mindedly forgot to include the head when he or she returned it to the museum. And that would be an extremely absent-minded thief. Could there have been some reason why only the head wasn't returned? Well, whatever the reason, it means we don't know what the face of the infamous professor looked like, do we? Oh. There's something caught just inside the convict's jacket here. It looks like a piece of broken glass. Quite a big piece, too. 139? Well, it matches the glass up here. Not sure if that really means anything, though. It's very thick, isn't it? About 5 times thicker than normal window glazing, I'd say. Where could such a thick piece of glass have come from, I wonder? I suppose it must have been made thick to increase its strength. But why? Well, perhaps because the glass had to span a particularly wide area, such as in a big building, for example. Ah. Well, we've seen a large glass building recently, haven't we? And some of the glass was broken too. You don't mean? Exactly. The Crystal Tower at the Great Exhibition. But why would glass from the Crystal Tower be lodged inside this waxworks jacket? It makes you think, doesn't it? Earlier in court, we established that the kinesis experiment was a trick. And now we've discovered this fragment of glass here in this waxwork. Is it just a coincidence? Okay, nothing else here? It doesn't matter if they're here in Britain or in Japan, graveyards are scary. Now I come to think of it, this is the first time I've seen a British grave. According to what I've read, the custom in Britain is to bury the dead as they are without cremation. What? But if you do that, you might accidentally bury people while you're still alive. I'm not sure that would be worse than accidentally incinerating people while you're still alive. I think we can both agree that it's best not to be still alive when our time comes then. And what am I to say to that? 37564. That's what I have to say to that. If you know, you know. That was an extremely obscure joke slash reference I just made, but if you know, you know. As part of the exhibit, it's just as disturbing as the rest. It looks so real. There seems to be a young man in a white overcoat. And he has a large shovel in his hand, too. Look. Perhaps I should investigate in a little more detail. Oh. Well, well, well. Look who it is. What's this here? Well, this would appear to be a lens in the middle, so I believe it's probably a camera. A camera? But it's so small. British technology is incredible, isn't it? I mean, what about Mr. Sholmes' skin prints? I think perhaps you should treat Mr. Sholmes' inventions as exceptions to the rule. But anyway, why would the man be in a graveyard at night with a camera? I wonder. Perhaps he was trying to capture the moment a dead body came back as a ghost on film. We'll just borrow this for a little while, I think. By looking at the photographic plate inside the camera, we can see what picture was taken. What's a photographic plate? It's a piece of glass coated in a special emulsion that reacts to the light coming in through the lens. If we open the cover at the back of the camera, we should find it. Let's have a look. You should see yourselves, Sato-san. Your eyes are shining. You really do like machinery, don't you? Wait a second, though. Wait, this is a real camera? I thought it was just a wax model. It's quite a large lamp the man's carrying. Or is it a lantern? It's not unlike a Japanese chochin paper lantern, actually, is it? Lamp, lantern, chochin. The point is it casts very little light. To be walking alone in a graveyard at night with only this. Well, I certainly couldn't do it. I'm not sure I could visit a graveyard at all, even in broad daylight, to be honest. What a large shovel. He's holding it rather ominously, isn't he? What on earth was the man doing with a shovel in a graveyard in the middle of the night? Mr. Sato. Yes? That's a spade, isn't it? No, it's a shovel. No, shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a spade. I've been through this, Mr. Naruhodo. It's a shovel. No. Although, we haven't considered trowels. We've allowed ourselves to be distracted, I feel. Perhaps we should concentrate on what the man was doing with the implement. So we're going to bury the hatchet. You're right, though. What was the man doing in the graveyard in the first place? That's the real question. Is shovels versus spades the equivalent of the stepladder debate? I can't see his face very well, can you? Perhaps if I just... Oh, do you think you should be manhandling the exhibits, Mr. Naruhodo? I'll put it back exactly as it was, don't worry. Ah! What on earth? How can... I don't believe it. A black monocle. Mr. Naruhodo, is it possible that this man is... Yes. It's Enoch Drebber. The color of his hair is different, but... it's unmistakably him. Indeed it is. Mr. Sholmes. This man is the subject of your present hunt, I believe. Yes, that's right. Just who is this man? Why is he here in this exhibit? And why does the convict behind him have no head? The head was missing when the model was returned by the thief who stole it. What a surprise. So then the case isn't yet solved, is it? Did I not say so myself? Largely solved were my words, I believe. But I must locate the missing head. So this way, as Madame would say, or I'll be in grave trouble. A very hungry iris still awaits my return to Baker's room, preferably with rations. Ah. Do you know, though, something about this room is strange. Strange? What do you mean? Well, the displays in the House of Horrors are supposed to depict real events, are they not? Indeed they are, Mr. Sato. Do go on. He knows already the conclusion. And as terrifying as they are, the scenes in the other exhibits are believable. But this one... this surely couldn't ever really have happened, could it? I think it's time I educated you a little. About the nature of the incidents involving the professor 10 years ago. Well, he's looking serious now. Before that, though... Oh, look! The cover came open. Yes, now, there should be a glass plate inside. You have to change the plate with each new photograph you want to take, you see? There's something wrong. There is no plate. It's been removed. Ah, what a pity. But I suppose if you think about it, this wouldn't be the actual camera that was used at the time, just like the waxwork isn't the actual person. So we never have found a photographic print of the executed convict coming back to life anyway. Oh, yes, you're quite right, of course. Poor Susato-san, she looks devastated. So why are we taking this, then? What a wonderful machine. You really love contraptions like this, don't you? Oh yes, anything mechanical I find absolutely irresistible. Almost irresistible, surely. Well, whenever I see a pocket watch, for example, I can't help myself. I simply have to take it apart. That's worrying. Yes, father tells me the time by the rumblings of his stomach now. He's given up having a watch. Poor Professor Mikotoba. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. What is it? On the bellows just here, there seems to be some very dark red stains. Yes, you're quite right. It looks like blood, actually. Oh my. I'm sure it's not what you're thinking. Curiouser and curiouser. So that's the clue, eh? Or a clue. I believe I told you a little about the Professor yesterday, did I not? He took the lives of 5 victims. Everyone being either a member of the aristocracy or royalty. All were attacked by an enormous hunting hound and had their throats ripped from their bodies. Oh. The Hound of the Baskervilles? Oh gosh, an enormous hound. How awful. After taking the life of his 5th victim, the killer was apprehended. It was a case of unprecedented magnitude in Britain, you understand. Accordingly, the professor was tried in a closed court. No members of the public were permitted. A closed court? So you mean the professor's identity? As you surmised, my dear fellow, his identity was never made public. Naturally, he was found guilty and was summarily sentenced to death by hanging. He was buried in a grave at Lowgate Cemetery, which adjoins the rear of the prison where he had been held. However, that was not the end of the affair. Oh. The very night that he was buried, the convicted man came back to life. Came back to life? He clawed his way out of the ground and emerged into the moonlit graveyard. The exhibit here depicts that very scene, as described by the sole witness to those chilling events. There was a witness. But of course, my dear fellow, it was none other than the young man in the white overcoat. Enoch Drebber. He saw it happen? So this is a waxwork model of Enoch Drebber. 10 years ago, the convicted professor, having been kidnapped and buried, emerged from his grave in the dead of night. The sole witness to that unimaginable scene was this young man. From appearances, I would say he was about 20 years old. It's so horrifying. Scared out of his wits, the young Drebber ran to a nearby police station to report the incident. And the sheer terror of what he'd seen is said to have turned his hair white overnight. Yes, as shown in the photograph we have of him, his hair is completely white. For the following few days, the story of what he's seen was on every front page in the capital. The public was frantic for every last detail, but the killer would come back to life. As you've seen, an exhibit was even created here to admit him to spells. I can quite understand why the man's hair turned white, certainly. But what I don't understand is what Mr. Drebber was doing in the first place, in a lonely graveyard in the middle of the night. Yes, what? What's he up to? The professor's acts of terror threw London's upper classes into complete panic 10 years ago. It was a great scandal, one might say, at the very highest levels of society. And since the killer's identity was never made public, rumors abounded. After all, no killer had ever before systematically employed a dog as a weapon of murder. Yes, I can imagine the impact the case must have had. But in time, of course, the rumors abated. So too did talk of the shocking witness account of the convict who came back to life. It was forgotten, dismissed as a dubious ghost story, as a preposterous parlor tale. But why did people stop believing it? Why, simply because there was no resurrection to speak of, as was established in fact. What do you mean by no resurrection? The police investigated the grave in Lowgate Cemetery and published their findings. The convict's body was found to be buried exactly where he had been following the execution. No! But that would mean Mr. Drebber must have lied to the police and the newspapers. That would appear to be the only logical explanation, yes. The young man subsequently vanished from society and nothing has been heard of him since. It's rather striking then, that he should resurface now, don't you think? Of course, the convicted murderer couldn't really have come back to life, that's not possible. But Trevor's hair is unusually white, and if that really did happen overnight as a result of shock, it's hard to believe that the incident was an out-and-out lie. What did he see? Ah! What the bleeding Norod? What have you gone and done? Gina, what are you doing here? I asked Iris, and she said that this is where you'll be, so... Gina, not so loud in the museum! Madame Tuspellos will have you take a position as a waxwork if you're not careful. I think it might be a more pressing concern. I still had some flash powder left from 6 months ago, so... Alright, Gina, we understand. But please, put down the gun. Sorry, I got scared. You should try being the one on the other end of the barrel. So, what brings you here, Gina? What brings me here? What do you think? You found it! You found it at Dutchy Cove's workshop! What? You found Trevor's workshop? Yep, Toby's nose took me straight there. The boss and the others are heading over there now in a drag, so come on! Here's the address. I got the boss to write it out. Oh, thank you, Gina. We'll make our way there at once. Alright then, see you there. Ah, she's cute when she does the salute. You go. Don't mind me. I'll just stay here, being still. What? I know my place. In the exhibit over there. Oh dear. Someone is feeling sorry for himself. Let's go, Mr. Sholmes. You're coming! Your words hearten me, I must say. But if I were to shirk my duties here, Madame would have me pay monetary recompense, and Iris's dinner plate would be empty once more. Forget that, I'll pay for everything. Then there's not a moment to lose, my dear fellow. I shall hail a carriage at once. No offer to share the cost from Mr. Sholmes, then. I shall gladly pay half, Mr. Naruhodo. Thank you, Mr. Sato. Alright, let's go. The plot is thickening. What the heck is this? Another kinesis machine? Looks like it. That looks like... Oh! It's another super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine. Indeed, it would appear so. Though only a prototype, naturally. Ah, so you got here then. Gina, well done for finding the space. And in such little time. You've really worked miracles. It's Toby is a miracle worker. I thought you'd just show up before long. Hello, Inspector. It's one knitted brow. It looks like he's eating a lemon, not a bag of fish and chips. He does. Okay, this game came out way before the trend, but you guys know about the lemon face meme that was going around for a while? He does have that face. So, Inspector, is there any sign of the engineer? Sadly not. We didn't find a soul in here. Oh, what a shame. Well, thank you for letting us know about this place and giving us the chance to investigate. According to what Gina tells me, we only found it thanks to a clue that you lot turned up. I wouldn't want to say, put the powers of a debt of gratitude on bait now, would I? Thank you. Anyway, if you're hoping to snoop around in here, I'd get cracking. Lord Van Zeeks and the forensic investigation team are on their way here as we speak. Them again. I imagine you got the picture by now. You don't take too kindly to lawyer types. Right. So then, my dear fellow, let's turn this place upside down whilst we have the chance. And you, Sholmes. Pardon? They take even less kindly to Greek detectives than they do to lawyers. Very droll, Gregson, very droll. But you may consider me nothing more than an inconspicuous waxwork model. Right then, let's see what we can find in here. This is... It's a European-style quiver of arrows, with steel bolts inside. Oh, do you suppose? Crossbow bolts, these. Just the right size of the bow you lot turned up at the exhibition grounds. In other words... Yep, it's more evidence to support your theory. It all goes to show that Drebber was the one pulling the strings behind the scenes of the whole scam. This door, it doesn't want to open. Yeah, looks like it's got a pretty hefty lock on it. There's a specialist locksmith on the way over from the guard, so hands off till he gets here. With permission, Inspector. I could have the lock open in less than a minute. Well, you don't have permission, and no one's given it to you. Gregson looks as though he really enjoyed that. Well, there's no sound of anybody on the other side. No, Dribble must have fled at the first sign of danger. This is the... You know, I just realized something. Chat, I just realized something. This is the first scene in the game where we have Sherlock Holmes, Inspector Gregson, and Inspector Lestrade investigating a crime scene at the same time. Incredible. Hey look, it's a ladder. I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo. The machine is covered by the Special Dispensation of the Scientific Equipment Act. There will be serious repercussions if you were to examine it, from the Crown and the government. But those two don't seem to be holding back. It's quite hollow inside. No working parts or devices of deception to be seen, my dear fellow. No loose change dropped on the floor or nothing. Not even a bone for Toby here, my dear fella. Oh my god. British people are very much ruled by their own ideals, aren't they? I think that's just these two, Mr. Sato. Lestrade's copying him. That's fun. Nothing particular of note. I wanted to look at the trophy. Ah, this appears to be most interesting. Yes, most interesting indeed, wouldn't you say? It's an impressive looking back massager, that's for sure. I've no doubt that if you hit your shoulders a few times with that, your aches and pains will soon go away. It's a Royal Society trophy for excellence in science. A young scientist could wish for no higher honor. Ah. Would you like a massage? No, I'm fine, thank you. I had no idea it was such a grand thing. I think it's becoming increasingly clear that there's much more to this Mr. Enoch Drebber than conjuring tricks. I couldn't agree more, my dear madame. And how about you, Mr. Naruhodo? Wouldn't you like to take it with you? For your tired shoulders, of course. He's not going to let that go, is he? It's curious though, isn't it? You would expect such an important trophy to be proudly on display somewhere, not haphazardly cast aside. English gentlemen can be quite a mystery at times. Oh. Is something wrong, Mr. Sato? Well, I thought I heard a noise. From the far side of that door. Well, Gina? Did you hear it too? Yeah, I didn't know. What'd you reckon, Toby? Right, mind the grease. Whoever's in there, open up. This is Scotland Yard. Oh my, someone is in there. Ah, this rotten bleeding lock. My dear Gregson, as I said only minutes ago. If only it were countenanced, I could unlock the door in less than a minute. Fine, I'll take the rap for it. Just get us through that blasted door. There, you may enter it with. You've confused minutes with seconds, I think. Time is of the essence, I feel. What are we waiting for? Forward, I suppose. This is an emergency. There's a strong possibility that beyond that door, Is the engineer you all seek? Be prepared for action, my dear fellow. Yes. What? What's happening here? Why is everything upside down? Rats! There ain't no one in here after all. But there must be. It was only moments ago that we heard those noises. Maybe that was the sound of Drebber running away. But there's only one door into this room. And no windows that could open for an escape route. Those skylights are too high. Then why are there shoe prints up there? Okay. Before we keep going though, actually, I want to take a look at some of the other evidence that we picked up, because we haven't actually had a chance to sit down and investigate it. This piece of glass is almost as thick as it is wide. Yes, I've never seen anything like it. If you were to compare it to a human, only Mr. Sholmes has such thick skin. There's really no need for such a comparison, Mr. Naruhodo, as you well know. Anyway, it can only be from the Crystal Tower. Surely. Yes, I think so too. It was probably made especially to meet the demands of that great structure. Nothing huge there. There's a little metal plaque here, look. Fostering burgeoning talent for the future of scientific discovery. It seems rather ironic, doesn't it? But clearly Mr. Drebber really was a very talented scientist. Nothing else of note about this? Okay. Back to the matter at hand. What's that up there? Are they footprints? On the ceiling? Hello, me. What have we here then? Is there someone who's trying to burn something in a hurry? Oh, that looks like a set of blueprints. To what? To the Professor Harriet's bombing machine, is it? Blimey! If we had these, there been no need to muck about trying to investigate all that scrap metal. There is something of great interest here, too. This rope was lying on the floor at the foot of that pillar. A rope? What's significant about that? Never mind. You see, but you do not observe, Mr. Naruhodo. We must investigate the entire room thoroughly, and before the forensic investigation team arrives too. Yes, well, I think we have a more pressing issue, and it's staring us in the face. Mr. Sholmes, have you found something? Ah, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, in point of fact, something rather fascinating. What do you make of this? Let's see. I've never seen anything like it before. It looks like a bundle of thick cigars wrapped up in a large watch to me, but... Ah! Mr. Sato! What's the matter? That's a... Surely that's a time bomb, isn't it? What did you say? Time bomb? Sorry, but... What is a time bomb, exactly? Eh? You truly are one of a kind, Mr. Naruhodo. I won't take that as a compliment. Huh. You don't know nothing, do you, Aldo? You haven't got a clue what it is either, have you, Gina? I invite you to consult a dictionary later, Mr. Naruhodo. But this particular specimen is no time bomb, but I confess it has a very similar appearance. Oh, well, thank goodness. But then, what is it? I see. So that's it. Goodness, Mr. Sholmes. Have you seen to the heart of the matter? There are times when I consider my lot most unfair. For I'm fated never to know how it feels to flounder as you do when a puzzle presents itself. I think that's also a quote from a book. But I have learned to accept the hardships that come with being a great detective, Mr. Sato. Here we go. I feel a great deduction coming. Once again, I can draw two conclusions from the scene we see before us. The first is that the inverted nature of the furniture in this room is the work of Drebber himself. Oh, but how could you... And the second conclusion is that the small device on the floor there is without question completely genuine. But please, Mr. Sholmes, you must explain everything. It would be a pleasure. After all, it is a great detective's civic duty to teach Scotland Yard's the finer points of the trade. He's even more scrunched up than usual. Well, Inspector Gresson seems delighted at the idea anyway. Oh, you deflected the Inspector's glare with such fortitude there, Mr. Sholmes. Well done. You're too kind, my dear madame. I hereby dedicate this great deduction to you. Kindly stand just there, Mr. Sutton. Oh, yes. I'll be delighted. So, shall we begin? Once again, Herlock Sholmes is proud to present his Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. And then the thing explodes halfway through his deduction. It's plain to see that this room is in complete disarray. The bed, the table and chairs, the lamp, everything is upside down. Almost as if every item in the room had, until recently, been happily positioned on the ceiling, before falling straight down to the floor. Every item in the room was on the ceiling. Are you suggesting that... Indeed, the key here is gravity. It would appear that technology has at last succeeded in freeing us from the great pull of the Earth. It's so dramatic, isn't it? For the gravity in this room was reversed, and then suddenly restored to normality. Goodness! The inverted furniture clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity played in this whole business. I quite understand your skepticism, Mr. Sato. I too was incredulous at first. However, my conviction in my analysis was cemented when I observed this. An anti-gravity device, almost identical to the one featured in the dream of mine on the other day, in fact. But then why does it have a clock on it? A most relevant question, indeed. That is a timing device that controls when the gravity direction will switch. There was clearly a requirement for the engineer to be able to restore normal gravity automatically. And the commotion we heard from earlier from the other side of the door was the moment that restoration occurred. Yes, the reason why everything in here has been turned upside down is because of the anti-gravity device. So you see, we need to look no further to explain the state in which we now find this room. The direction in which gravity acts in here was reversed by Mr. Drebber, before being restored to normality in automatic fashion, sometime later by the timer device. I have witnessed precisely the scene in the dream I once had when I fell out of bed. Holmes, why are you stalling when there's a bomb in the room? Are you not worried that you're going to explode and die? Now, let us consider the next conundrum. What was our engineer friend's aim? Indubitably, the greatest clue we have to explain his actions is above our heads. Yes, how is it possible that there are footprints all the way up there on the ceiling? A question whose answer will lead us neatly to the truth, my dear madame. The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby skylight. Of course, Drebber's aim was simple, to escape. However, there is but one way into this room, excepting the skylight, that is. Oh, they're doing fancy. By inverting the gravity here, Drebber was able to fall conveniently to the ceiling, and make his escape via the otherwise inaccessible skylight, leaving those footprints behind on the way. But the ceiling in here is very high, Mr. Sholmes. If the gravity reversal was sudden, wouldn't Mr. Drebber have fallen up to the ceiling rather violently? Falling up is both scientifically and philosophically a rather interesting concept, I feel. But the man was concerned with nowhere to run, cornered with nowhere to run, so escape through the skylight was his only option. You may recall that I found this the room earlier, which I believe offers a solution. Oh, the rope. To reach the intended destination, what better tool than this rope? By anchoring one end to the wall, the man was able to lower himself safely to the ceiling. Which explains how Drebber was able to escape this room before our arrival. He reversed the pull of gravity and fled via the skylight. And personally, I should very much like to reverse the pull of gravity again now, just for fun. Thus concludes Sherlock Sholmes' great deduction of this topsy-turvy puzzle. She's completely spellbound. Mr. Sholmes, there is just one thing that troubles me. I would expect nothing less. You're destined to be troubled by just one thing for the rest of your life. The thing is such a thing actually possible? An anti-gravity device, I mean? I would say that with man's current scientific knowledge at the turn of the 20th century, it's no more possible than instantaneous kinesis. But your whole deduction hinges on it. Ah, but my dear fellow, when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. However improbable it may seem. That is something he says, yes. It's a marvelous line, wouldn't you agree? One of my more enduring pillars of wisdom. I had Iris come up with the exact phrasing. My original was clumsy. Yes, I have a feeling I've read it in something that Miss Susato lent me once.
Objection!
Actually, there is one other thing, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, the spell's broken at last. The rope we found was on the floor, wasn't it? Indeed it was, and lonely coils near the wall. But if Mr. Drebber had used it to escape in the way you described, wouldn't it still be tied to the wall? Mystery is inevitably unraveled in the end, as I think you'll find do ropes. And as evidence of such, you need only look at the mystery we face in this room, now skillfully unraveled. That argument is as circular as the coils of rope. I think perhaps you might need to give Mr. Sholmes the usual little helping hand. I'm sure there's some minor corrections. The great detective's great deduction will lead us to the truth. Yes, you're right. We must do it quickly before Enoch Drebber gets too far away. Or we explode. If you're ready then, let us resume. Sherlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Alrighty. What wacky shenanigans are we gonna pull this time? Hey, we have a safe number. There's a number on the underneath of that couch. 43258 something. The thing gravity had been reversed in this very room. I find the whole idea utterly enthralling. Only Mr. Sholmes could conceive of such an explanation. But the man himself admitted it was a scientific impossibility, so... Yes, you're quite right. We must completely discount the idea at once. Ooh, that's unusually merciless of you, Mr. Sato. But if you eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. The great detective himself said so, didn't he? For refusing to part with his dreams of anti-gravity devices. Yes, I suppose so. Well, let's see if examining this topsy-turvy scene a little more closely. Reveal some proof that shows exactly what the gravity in this room was or wasn't doing. What here breaks the laws of Sholmesian gravity theory? The safe, right? You're talking about the safe. Ah, look, Mr. Sato. But everything seems to be upside down in here. The safe is conspicuously the right way up, have you noticed? Yes, that's true. But look more closely at the safe's feet. Ah, that's a lot of very large bolts fixing it to the floor. Think before you speak. That's what you wanted to say, isn't it? I really put my foot in my mouth there. I certainly didn't say that. What if... What if the whole room rotates? That's probably... I mean, it's still a bit implausible that he would have engineered something that large. But, you know, he is an engineer, and that is at least theoretically possible. Is this actually the ceiling? Is the room, like, rotated right now?
Take that!
Unlike every other piece of furniture in the room, this safe is not upside down. So, a reversal in gravity can't be the reason for the state of this room. Mr. Naruhodo, I implore you to observe more closely. As you can see, the safe's feet is firmly bolted to the floor, saving it from any effects of gravity. Oh, so it is. But there is one thing we can learn from your misguided conclusion. A good deduction is no mean feat. Can we at least make jokes at my expense funny? Alright, we gotta look at it again. No, yeah, no, it's not that the room can't be rotated because the notices are the right way up, the lamp is the right way up. Well, there we go. Well, I wasn't expecting to find a pretty bunch of flowers in here, that's for sure. Ah, look at that. I know. That slender little vase looks like it's about to topple at any moment, but the flowers are thriving. Somehow it makes you think of the fragility of life, wouldn't you say? To be honest, Mr. Naruhodo, something else about it made a rather deeper impression on me.
Take that!
The upright vase clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity played in this whole business. Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo, you surpassed yourself, by completely turning my argument on its head. Trying to impress your assistant here, perhaps. No one is trying to steal your spotlight here, Mr. Sholmes, trust me. As you rightly say, though, it appears at first glance that all the furniture in the room is upside down. This unassuming slender vase is standing keenly to attention. And unlike the large safe, there is nothing affixing it to the floor. And it's the exception that breaks the rule. In short, much as it pains me. The gravity in this room was never inverted at all. My deepest sympathies for your loss. Oh, poor Mr. Sholmes. But the show must go on, so let us continue with our deductions. Now that we know this contrivance is not in fact an anti-gravity device, there remains but one other possibility. You don't say. Someone deliberately turned over every piece of furniture in here. Which might sound obvious, but leaves one mystery very much unsolved. Namely, why would anyone choose to do that? Quite, and naturally there is an explanation. He's absolutely determined that this device must have something to do with it, isn't he? I'm afraid the lure of an exciting scientific explanation is too strong. Well, there's no doubt that somebody did this. Somebody turned all this furniture over. So whoever it was must have had a reason. I'm afraid nothing comes to mind at all, though. Well, let's look around and see if the answer presents itself. It's right there. Look, there's something written on the other side of this armchair. But yes, safe. 432582. Safe. As in safe and secure. As in secure lockable box, I think. Admittedly more likely. Well, there is a large safe bolted to the floor on the other side of the room, so yes. So you mean this number would let us open it? I wonder why it's written here, though.
Take that!
Yes, the reason why everything in here has been turned upside down is because of the safe combination. Precisely. I believe, Mr. Naruhodo, that you had a very similar experience once, didn't you not? Yes, last year, when I bought a lottery ticket and noted the ticket number down on the inside cover of a book just in case. That's it. For people who have forgetful souls at heart and always make a written note of important information. Just keeping the ticket itself safe would be more sensible, I think. And what, pray, happened next, Mr. Naruhodo? When the day of the draw came around, I'd forgotten which book I'd written a number in and had to turn my room upside down to find it. That's it. For people who have forgetful souls at heart and always forget where they've noted things down. Not if you always note things in the same place. I actually won the second prize, you know. But I couldn't remember which magazine I slipped the ticket into, so I had to turn my room upside. Thank you, Mr. Naruhodo, but I believe I've proved my point now. We just had a very similar scenario as clearly unfolded in this room. Finding himself requiring access to the safe, the occupant of this room needed a combination code. I remember that he'd written it on the other side of a piece of furniture, but forgot which one, leading to the state in which we now find the room. Yes, Mr. Dribble overturned all the furniture in here, in a desperate hurry, to locate the combination code that will unlock the safe. Now, let us consider the next conundrum. What was our engineer friend saying? He's looking in that direction. Well, if a change in the direction of gravity can't explain it, then how did those footprints get there? Yes, I feel as though that particular mystery has just become even harder to solve. I can't think of any other way to explain it at all. Ooh, life was so much simpler in those halcyon days when gravity could be reversed. It was minutes ago, and those halcyon days never existed in the first place. Well, I suppose we must simply put our faith in Mr. Sholmes and observe the area in more detail. Putting our faith in Mr. Sholmes is what gets us into these situations in the first place. It's hard to believe, but there's a shoe up here, look. Oh yes, and there are more footprints on this little balloon too. Perhaps a shoe was thrown up here and it became large, do you think? If so, then judging from the number of footprints, it must have been thrown up several times. Why would anyone be throwing shoes up at the ceiling? Oh dear, that's beyond me, I'm afraid. This is a gas balloon, isn't it? It's tiny, but it does seem to be a real balloon. Yes, I think you're right. I think it's helium that's keeping it up. A green gas balloon. Why does that seem to ring a bell with me? If you can see, there are footprints on this balloon too. Look. Oh yes, surely that's a clue, isn't it? Though what it tells us, I'm not sure.
Take that!
Alright. The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby shoe. And on closer inspection, there are clearly footprints all over the balloon as well. In other words, the aim was never the skylight at all, but the balloon. But for what purpose? A green balloon. That seems somewhat familiar data. Ah! It was a piece of green balloon's envelope that Miss Naruhodo and Iris found at the scene. And inside the green balloon that Master Gotz claimed we saw above the stage when the incident occurred was the second birdcage, the crux of the whole instantaneous kinesis deception. You mean to say... If we assume the balloon in here is a model of the one used on the day, there is a strong possibility something may be concealed inside it. Something our absconder was desperate to retrieve before making a hasty getaway. But the balloon's out of reach. Hence why he resorted to a projectile, namely the shoe. Ah! Most probably, Dribble intended to tear a hole in the envelope by assailing it of the shoe. However, his efforts were thwarted with the shoe itself becoming a prisoner of those lofty heights. Oh dear, we desperately need to examine that balloon. If only there was some way we could see inside. You may recall that I found this in the room earlier, which I believe offers a solution. Oh no, it neatly ties back in there. Mr. Jones has managed to bring the deduction back to the rope. Alright, I have to admit, that was clever. So we just throw the rope up to the balloon and then pull it down to us on the ground. Which is much easier said than done, I feel. And could take us a very long time as well. True, perhaps we need a more surefire method. In fact, we already have one, of course, don't we? Oh, we just present this one.
Take that!
To reach the intended destination, what better tool than this crossbow? This was found at the scene, in fact. And in all likelihood belongs to Mr. Trevor. If the man had only brought it away with him that day, he could have avoided losing his shoe at such a critical time as this. So, shall we? Your curiosity is deeply stirred, no doubt, my dear fellows. What is it that Enoch Drebber has hidden inside that balloon? A head! Ah! What the? A waxwork. Indeed it is. A waxwork head inside a metal mask. A mask that is shut tight and fastened with a strong and quite impenetrable lock. So we can't see the face inside, that means. Wow, that's a lot of extra effort. Just a moment. This is the head of a waxwork model. Does that mean? Oh goodness! I see you've joined the dots, Mr. Sutton. Excellent. Ah, of course, a headless waxwork model. The case of the abducted Madame Dispel's model that you largely solved. It was only the head of the killer that was still missing. Indeed it was. But I believe Madame Dispels will now have to settle her sizable account of me. This, as you have now surmised, is the head of the infamous professor. Yes. But why is it here? This conclusively confirms my suspicions. The man responsible for stealing the professor from Madame Dispels and returning it, sans titi, earlier today, was none other than Enoch Drebber. This is incredible. Professor Harbraid's case and the waxwork abduction are... they're inextricably linked by Enoch Drebber's workshop. Can I take a look at the head? Well, it appears our logical pleasure cruise has come to an end, my dear fellows. I would like to take a look at the head. Oh, it's locked. You can't see it. They're not gonna let us see whose face it is underneath. This lock does look very strong, doesn't it? There's definitely no way you could remove the mask yourself if it was put on you. What a terrible way to treat someone, even a convicted criminal. I know. It's starting to make me livid, actually. Mr. Naruhodo, please. I mean, just think about it. Imagine if you had an itch on your cheek all of a sudden. You'd be utterly helpless. Well, yes, that's true. But I'm not sure that warrants quite so much anger. Oh, right, sorry. Can I peek through the eye holes? They've made it a featureless void. Very clever. All that remains is, yes, to speak of the architect of this adventure. Ooh. New variant. The architect? You mean Mr. Drebber? As it seems quite impossible that he escaped via one of the skylights. Obviously, the man must still be here in the room. What? And his location should be abundantly clear. If you simply reflect on the journey we've made together during this deduction, Enoch Drebber is right here, somewhere in this room. So, Mr. Naruhodo, will you do the honors? Yes, of course. Mr. Drebber's hiding place must be the... Look at all that mess in front of the safe. Yes, plans and accounting ledgers. Almost as if somebody was in a hurry to empty the contents of the safe, in fact.
Take that!
It's hiding in there. Before we gain access to this back room, we heard noises from in here. Which tells us that the engineer was still in the building at the point in time. He was in fact searching for the combination to his safe. And pressed for time, made no attempt to right the furniture that he overturned in the process. From which we can deduce that his search for the combination happened very recently indeed. In summary, Mr. Enoch Drebber is, at this very moment, inside the safe. Is he still alive? This concludes Sherlock Sholmes' great deduction of this topsy-turvy puzzle. So what about the bomb, though? Also, if you were in a safe and a bomb went off next to you, I'm pretty sure you would still die. I'm pretty sure you would die even if the bomb went off and you're in a safe that close, you know? You wouldn't die from the explosion. You would die by getting hit. I mean, you would not die by the explosion in the most literal sense of the word. You will be killed by a high-velocity chunk of safe. So, Mr. Naruhodo, I think perhaps it's time we ended this game of hide-and-seek, don't you? By opening the safe, you mean? What else? Let's see. The combination was 1432 I knew that. Alright then, here goes. You found me. He moves like a clockwork figure. I see. That's his gimmick. Wow, this is the most animated I've ever seen an Ace Attorney character be. That's so much animation. Alright then, sir. Mr. Enoch Drebber, I presume. Correct. You better start talking. You tricked Professor Harebrained with that bogus machine you built. And you shall have to explain the death of the waxwork from Madame Tuspel's as well. Because I would be delighted to answer your many questions. Personally, I would advise that you deactivate my little parcel first. Deactivate? Your parcel? I refer, of course, to the time bomb. I left it in the most prominent position. Ah. Ha ha ha. I see. Stunned silence. You're all gearing up to die with me then. No! Mr. Sholmes, we've only 7 seconds to spare. That was too close for comfort. I've got 1 foot in the grave already. I'm trying to help us get a killer or get us killed. Mr. Sholmes' deductions can be completely life-altering, can't they? Well, my dear fellows, that was a close shave. The resemblance to an anti-gravity device is really quite startling, I must say. Anti-gravity devices don't exist. I wouldn't push it, Mr. Sholmes. Funny fun. Alright. I still can't believe we were nearly blown up. What was that sideways glance at aid of, Mr. Naruhodo? I thought that deducing meaning from the movement of your people's eyes was a specialty, Mr. Sholmes. Never mind that now. Let's see what Mr. Drebber has to say for himself. Playing games with our lives now. What if Sholmes just went off I think he would probably have dove for it and deactivated it in the last second if it really came down to it, but still. What on earth happened in here? You found me, haven't you? No need to screw me down any further. Everything in here is precisely what it seems. Yeah, well, we'll be giving it a thorough going over, don't you worry, Drebber. Fails to click with me is how you were able to locate my workshop. That I was not expecting. When I heard whistling from the other room, I knew it was time to bolt. Whistling? Ah, that would have been me. Oh! For some reason, I will confine Vettel today. No words, just tightly squeezed chips. Clearly, I must have a screw loose though, as I couldn't remember the combination for the safe. And another one loose, as I couldn't remember on which piece of furniture I'd written it down. He also found a rope over by the wall. Yes, I had hoped to exit through the skylight, but sadly the rope was too short. So, I then set about searching for the combination code to open the safe. And burning the incriminating blueprints, don't forget. Regrettably though, you failed to retrieve the head from the balloon among the rafters. And after that you hid yourself inside the safe. Had first set this parcel ticking. Well, I had no intention of being nailed by the police. But a death wish, have you? Hiding right beside a ticking time bomb. Please, why do you suppose I chose to hide inside the safe? It's no ordinary safe. It's specially designed. A dynamite explosion wouldn't leave a scratch on it. Doubt. So in fact, the safe was the only safe place. Precisely. But once you climbed inside, you wouldn't have been able to get out again. I invite you to look more closely. The safe is fitted with a handle on the inside, to allow the door to be unlocked from within. Ah, so it is. I had always intended to blow this place to smithereens in any case. I just wasn't expecting uninvited guests to come along and screw up my plans. Do you mean to say you plan to blow us all up? No. That was unforeseen. What do you mean? Most people run when they see a ticking time bomb at your feet. I calculated the time required for retreat to a safe distance and set the device accordingly. But your seemingly endless discourse in here threw a spanner in the works. Is something wrong, Gregson? Do I have something on my face? Besides the usual eyes, ears, nose, and mouth? I think we have a fairly good idea of what's been going on here now. But what about the two incidents you've evidently been involved in recently? Professor Harebrain's instantaneous kinesis experiment at the Great Exhibition. And the waxwork model you stole, which this head belongs to. That's no ordinary head, you know. That's the head of the professor. Clad in a mask with a lock so strong, I'm unable to open it safely to reveal the killer's identity. I've been considering carrying it around as protection, after all. That's enough! What's going on here, Gregson? I'm sure you're aware that I have sole jurisdiction to investigate here? Yes, well. Dr. Scythe again. So the forensic investigation team are here. And you know full well this engineer is a key witness. Why are you allowing this lawyer access to him? If Lord Strongheart knew of this, you'd be finished. You lot, leave at once. My dear madame, there's no need for such a threatening tone, I assure you. After all, there's no way to greet a no acquaintance, is it, Dr. Scythe? Hello, Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes knows Dr. Scythe? If it's protecting the machine next door that's causing such a sour expression on your face, you are quite misguided. It's really nothing more than a shell. Get out! But of course, we'll show ourselves the door. I see you haven't softened at all. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? It would appear that our delightfully entertaining investigations have run their course for today. But Mr. Sholmes, let us leave this place in the doctor's capable hands. I said get out! Now! All of you! Your presence here is not required either, Gregson. Understood? But I'll just say one thing before I head off. If it wasn't for this lawyer and his companions, I'd never have found this place, and the whole workshop would have been blown to bits. There was a time bomb set in here. With this lot disarmed. Inspector. So this is giving you a chuckle, is it, Drebber? Ah, so sorry. Didn't mean to offend. You're quite right, of course. You did disarm the time bomb, didn't you? Yes, you did disarm that one. Eh? What are you... That one? You mean... Oh, shit! Did anyone die from that? It was an hour later that we heard the news of the enormous explosion that ripped through the experimentation stage of the Great Exhibition. Professor Harebrain's invention and all its secrets were blown away forever. We do a little terrorism. To be continued. Wow, just like that, huh? He successfully engaged in evidence tampering. Well, we're gonna have to find out the rest of the mysteries in court, it seems. But off the top of my head, here's my little bit of suspicion. I think the coroner is involved because the autopsy report from the first day was written by her. And she's acting cagey now. The fact that the coroner is even like a major character, you know, like it's an actual character with a model and like with a character model and everything, and actively participating in this case, I think she has something to do with it. What exactly it is, I don't know. But yeah, now I'm considering she also answers to Strongheart. Yeah, that's true. But, you know, that still doesn't, like, it's neither here nor there, I guess. Like, she could be doing things under his nose, you know? Doesn't necessarily mean that whatever she did was with approval from Strongheart. Situations like that has happened before, I think, in previous Ace Attorney games. But yeah, she's definitely involved, which is making me think that our supposed victim may not be dead at all. Because if we're calling into question the confirmation that is that person, you know, that's the evidence we were given earlier, you know, like the person in the cage and the person in the Crystal Tower are exactly the same. And all that stuff. If we assume that to be a lie, then, you know, that solves our problem. And if that's the case, we might have a faked autopsy report, which is really interesting for Ace Attorney. Because that's never happened before, I think. We've never actually had a falsified autopsy report. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But yeah, I'm willing to bet the victim's still alive. Like, and that also might mean that he's the... Yeah, I think that maybe he's the professor. Maybe this whole conspiracy is that guy is actually... Yeah, that guy might be Moriarty. Like, this whole time. And, like, the coroner is in on it, you know? So, like, you know, closed trial, buried, nobody knows the identity, so on and so forth. They could have faked the whole thing. They could have conspired to fake the whole thing. Moriarty was trialed and sent, quote unquote, sentenced to death, and then he was climbing out of the grave later on. Because he's actually alive, but nobody actually knows what he looks like. The public doesn't know what he looks like, so... And he's done it again. He's cheated death again. Yeah, that's my theory right now. I think that's probably likely. And we're setting up the guy as Moriarty. Interesting. Alright, chat. We'll call it at that for now. We'll be back soon to get into the trial, so stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys around soon. Peace.